Your Tigers are victorious in round one of 2025 NCAA tournament, aka March Madness. They've taken down the mighty Alabama State Hornets. We're going to talk about it in this post-game show. We'll talk about the score, those stats, and of course, those storylines, and look ahead to the future as well. All that's coming up right now. War Eagle, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live, where we love to talk about the Auburn experience. The Auburn experience to us is about a few things: the Auburn sports, the Auburn culture, and Auburn family stuff. A better way to say it is if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. So thank you so much for joining us in what we're going to do on this particular live stream. We're breaking down a post-game reaction show where we're talking about the Auburn Tigers being victorious in their first matchup in the March Madness NCAA tournament for 2025. Your final score for this one, 83-63, a 20-point differential for the Tigers. They take down the in-state opponents just down the road, essentially, from them. It's nice to see some schools from the state of Alabama in there. Your big stat for me is going to be 23 points, if I've got that correct. I had to kind of memorize that quickly, from Miles Kelly, who has an outstanding game yet again in Rupp Arena. And the big storyline, the Tigers overcome a little bit of an upstart from the Alabama State Hornets to start off the game, where they got within one in the first half, but it results in the Tigers' 20-point win, 83-63. There is so much to talk about, so much to break down, so much to react to, and we're going to do that in our best fashion that we can. We'd love for you to start off the show with us, as we always ask you to do, by smashing that like button. Please do. For us, a huge help. If you're brand new to us, you can follow, subscribe wherever you're watching. That's a huge help to us. Thank you so much for doing that and coming back. We'd also love for you to let us know that you're here. You can check in with us. Let us know where you're watching from, how you're feeling, all that stuff. We'll take reactions and commentary throughout the game. Throughout the game. The game's already over. Throughout our broadcast tonight. But here's how we normally do things. For those of you that may be new to this, we do discussions about the stats, individuals, team-wise. We then do, amongst all that, talking about some of the storylines. You guys play a heavy hand in that. And discuss so many things with us. We also will look ahead a little bit to the future and the matchup with Creighton. So hold your horses. I know that's where a lot of the commentary goes into the chat during the middle of these things. We'll get there at the end and talk about it a little bit. But let's break down this game. And first of all, I want to start off with this. And we already kind of mentioned this. We are so proud of the state of Alabama, and yes, that includes our rivals too, for being well represented in this tournament, and that includes Alabama State. They got March Madness with the first four games kicked off in fine fashion with their incredible ending to their play-in game into the actual tournament. And regardless of how it ends for them here, I just want to extend a admiration to them for making it into the tournament, for making it so special to start off with. And as expected, gave Auburn a little bit of a scare there for a little bit. I mean, listen, it's the Auburn way, right? It's a roller coaster ride, so it's not really anything special that Alabama State did. This is kind of what Auburn does, or they allow somebody else to do. But it is still admirable to see them in this tournament competing, coming in unafraid. So I want to give a little bit of a tip of the cap to them and thank them for their time and their effort. I know maybe now it sounds not so much like a congratulations. It sounds like tongue in cheek, but I genuinely do mean that. And I am genuinely very happy and proud to see them in the NCAA tournament. Okay. Now our stats that we normally use, we don't have access to. So I'm using ESPN. So it's going to be a little bit off on how I go through this thing today. I may have to bounce around and seem a little lost at times. But we're going to do our best to work through that. It's just I don't have access to my normal thing that we do. But let me ask you right off the top here. What do you think? Who's your player of the game? Is it Janai? Is it Miles? Is it X, Y, Z? What do you think? Give me your player of the game, POTG. that person's name. I want to know what you guys think in terms of player of the game. While you're thinking about that, sharing some of those things, we'll look at some of your initial commentary and say hello to some of you that have already checked in with us. We appreciate you guys doing that. And I know today is maybe some of y'all are off work now. I don't know. Devin started us off the show saying started out a little rough, but much better in the second half. What do we always talk about? It's not how you start it, it's how you finish it. And certainly they finished off in fine fashion. Mike is here. Good to see you guys checking in with us early. Devin wants to point out early on, double for Janai once again. Absolutely. He showed once again why he is the National Player of the Year. Now, by most standards here, he is, scoring a little bit more, but he gets another double, 14 points, 11 rebounds. He has an assist. He has 3 turnovers, 3 personal fouls on the day, and he is 5 for 9 from the field, 4 for 9 from the free throw line. Not great. I know that's something that we'll talk about a little bit more in detail as a team as we get into the team discussion of it. But there's your stat line for Janai tonight. my cough is coming back if y'all haven't figured that out by now. I'm trying real hard to not let it get too much on that. Let's see what some of you guys are saying for player of the game. I've got a Chaney player of the game. One for Miles and Chaney. There's a reason it's called player of the game. You got to pick one. But thank you for giving a shout out. We got a Kelly, Miles Kelly one, another one for Miles Kelly right there. So many great candidates that you could say in this. Let's look at some of the other individual stats and kind of walk through that and see if we can come up with your best player of the game. Chaney Johnson just sticks out to me right now. 5 for 9 from the field, 3 for 4 from the free throw line. He only gets his total rebounds is 7. And his point, I told you the thing's a little bit weird today on me. 1 assist for him, 13 points. So he comes close-ish to a double-double. Came on strong in the second half. A lot of people have talked about him needing to, quote-unquote, step up again. We've seen him do that in many ways, and he had a really good stretch there in the first half where he had like really quickly 6 points back-to-back-to-back. So that was nice to see out of him. I think we all recognize, though, that Miles Kelly loves playing in Rupp Arena. He does. I forget what his points were last time here, but 23 points for him. He has a total of 3 rebounds, 1 block, only 1 turnover, 3 personal fouls, 8 for 16 from the field, 7 for 15 from the 3-point arc. Let me say that again. 7 for 15, almost 50% from the 3-point arc. I think, folks, as much as we love Janai, as much as we love Chaney, and we're not done talking about individual stats. There's some recognitions that deserve to be brought up here still. I think we got to give it to Miles. Miles came out firing. Miles came out just guns a-blazing. Somebody needed to get a hose out there because the man was on fire. The fire department, where were y'all when we needed you? Well, we didn't need you because we didn't want you to put that fire out, but he was absolutely on fire. And I enjoyed watching that for him again. Because, Miles, I think, gets, other than making his threes, and that's really what we talk about him tonight, people forget about him and some of the other great things that he can do. He's not just a shooter. He's a great defender. So I was happy to see Miles. So many of you talked about how much you were excited about him. Let's see. Devin brings up, love that Todd had a few shots fall. Going to need him, certainly after he had a rough end to the season. So many other people celebrating Miles here. Tahad Pettiford tonight, 5 for 9. Is that like so we got Janai Broom is 5 for 9. Chaney Johnson is 5 for 9. Tahad Pettiford is 5 for 9. That's your stat of the game. When have we ever seen that before? 3 players, 5 for 9 from the field, each of them. I mean, it's okay. It's pretty decent shooting wise, but that's interesting. Very, very interesting. Tahad Pettiford, 5 for 9, 2 for 6 from the 3-point arc, 4 for 5 from the free throw line. He does have 5 rebounds on the day and 16 points. So your scoring leaders are as such: Miles Kelly, Tahad Pettiford, Janai Broom at 14, Chaney Johnson at 13. Those are all your double-digit scores, too. The rest of the scoring today was done by way of Dylan with 3, Chad Baker-Mazara with 5, Denver Jones with 8, and Blake Busilik gets a point today in March Madness. How awesome is that for him? to see him get out there, and all those guys to get out there, but to get a point as well. Those are the types of things that people take for granted, how special those moments are for those walk-ons. And scholarship players, those of it that have gotten scholarships but don't play hardly at all, to get the opportunity to do that, to score, and to be in there. Unbeaten Lake says, I hope this is our worst game going forward. Usually it is. Well, there's something to be said about getting your momentum set. You got to think about this too. Alabama State played with house money. They had nothing to lose. They already probably shocked a few people by winning the SWAC conference tournament to get in here. Not that they were a lower tier team, just saying that I think there was, looking at the way their conference shaked out through the regular season, it looked like there were probably 3 other teams that might have been expected to win the tournament before them and get the bid. So they were already kind of on that high of that. They win in exciting fashion that first 4 game, get in here, and finally, have an opportunity to do something big. They've seen the 16 seed do it already twice in recent years. So why not them? Why not their opportunity? So that was really cool to see. Another cool storyline amongst all this, I think y'all have heard it talked about a lot, was the Coach Madlock for Alabama State. Used to be an Auburn assistant under he who shall not be named. Just Tony Barbie. And so there is that connection. His son was on the team. There's a lot of cool storylines along this, whether you slice it about proximity, the connections between the coaching staff of the past, things like that. This had a great feel for a first round game, and you had some excitement in too. I know we as fans didn't necessarily want that, but there it is, I want to give a shout out to Dylan Cardwell. How many of y'all were literally screaming, no, 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 when he went down and started holding on to that knee? And then as soon as we're doing that, he starts goofing again on us. He's pulling the Cam Newton. Cam used to do that a lot to us later on in the season when he was playing, act like he was down and then jump back up. And I for sure thought he was down. I for sure thought that was it. I was like, this is the first domino that falls that's going to make this even more difficult. But thankfully, we are looking like we're okay on that end. In terms of injuries that happened, Chris Moore, somebody brought it up earlier, wishing him well, hoping that he's okay. Rolled an ankle, it looked like, and unfortunately was not able to play much more. He did come back in the second half and really looked hobbled. I found it very interesting. The commentators tonight were trying to really focus on whether a coach should do that or not, when another set of commentators were discussing Cooper Flagg and whether or not they should play them, and that they said, no, one of the coaches who's won a national title said, no, you should, if he's able to, you should definitely play him to get out there, stretch it out, and feel it. I would agree in that sense. I think it was appropriate to throw him out there, just see what it was like on it, let him get back out there and feel comfortable on it. Don't risk anything. They brought him back out quickly. So hopefully Chris is okay. I know so many of y'all understand, who actually think through basketball and don't just do sound bites, understand Chris's importance to this team. And he's the glue. He's the glue that you don't really ever see the glue, but if it's gone, you miss it. So I will say that much for Chris Moore, and I really hope that he is okay and is ready to go for the next game. Excuse me, still coughing here. Okay, trying to look through some of the comments that are currently about this game and see like that. What else haven't we talked about from some of y'all's commentary here? We'll talk about the next game here in just a little bit. I think we've covered most of it. Were we not good back then? My memory just can't recall anything from Ellis to Pearl. I'm not sure what you're talking about there. Let's see here. Anything else in the chat? Trying to see if we didn't miss any other storylines. If you guys have got any other shout outs that you want to give to certain players, please do that, or moments that stuck out to you individual wise, please bring those up and we'll talk about them a little bit. But I think we've talked about the majority of those things tonight. Kevin says, I thought it was a sloppy performance and free throws are trash, not making any words. But I also agree with this, Chris. Let's enjoy every win. I think it's fine to offer your critiques on things, and certainly we've discussed some of those, and we're about to get to those in the team stats. and what's obviously bad over there. But I think we also need to take solace in every opportunity to continue playing in this league. Okay, let's push the individual stats and stories to the side. We can come back to anything that certainly we need to talk about in that. Let's move on to team stats and discuss the things. Everybody say it with me. The big three. The big three. Rebounds, turnovers, and free throws. We're going to talk about them. I know you want to. I know some of y'all don't want to. They have it listed. I'm going to go by how they have it listed on this ESPN app, not our normal sheet that I go off of. Free throws tonight for Auburn. Wow, that's worse the second time I looked at it. 56.3%. Now, thank goodness they weren't much better, 57.9. So normally I would say that's a win for Alabama State in that category. But they were so bad, too, that it really negated any advantage they could have in that category. That's 2 games in a row that we have been in the 50%. That has to change in March. It absolutely must change. If I'm coach, I'm doing nothing but telling them go shoot free throws until they kick you out of the gym and won't let you practice anymore. They know better than us on how to coach that, how to prepare for that. But boy, let me make sure. Yeah, I was make sure I had the correct ones on that. Either way, it's 50%, 56, 57%. That's terrible. Rebounds. Auburn wins the rebound battle 36-46%. Let me move this a little bit closer to myself so I can see things a little bit better. So Auburn wins the rebounding battle there. Turnovers is actually in Alabama State's favor, 10-12. Not by much. They had a lot too. This is more than Auburn normally has. So we kind of understand now, looking at these 3 important stats that I always stress about, why the Alabama State Hornets were able to make a little bit of a run on Auburn and get things a little bit scary in the first half. Things like missed free throws, turnovers. Thankfully, Auburn did enough in the rebounding category to make a big difference. 1 defensive rebounding, 1 offensive rebounding. So just because you lose 2 of the 3 categories or win 2 of the 3 categories doesn't really dictate if you're going to win or lose, but it certainly does help tell the story of why things happened the way they did. So I know I've seen so many of you guys. Chris has brought it up here: free throws, free throws, free throws. Trust me, I am the biggest stickler on that in the world. Let's see here. Got to get something in the head. Got something in the head because the guards were missing too, not just the bigs. And that's a great point, Jacob. This isn't, everybody wants to look at Janai and Dylan and whoever shooting, and you expect the big guys to not be your best free throw shooters, but everybody was missing them. Was there I think maybe one person that made more than 50% in the first half. It was very frustrating to watch. You cannot miss free throws. It was just a bad day on that, but that's 2 games in a row. Can't have that. Let's see here. Looking at some more of our team stats today, Auburn shoots pretty decently from the field, 45%. 3-point percentage is 31%. They win both of those categories, very much helping them win this game. Assist, Auburn doubles up, more than doubles up. Alabama State, 16 for them. That's on the decent end of where they typically are, I feel like, as far as assists. So Auburn once again shared the ball really well, which helped out in a lot of areas. Look at that. We talked about the turnovers margins for Auburn. Alabama State had 10 steals. They were very tenacious, very active on defense, and Auburn maybe have been a little bit sloppy at times too, but you got to give credit to Alabama State for taking advantage of sloppiness. Taking 10 steals from Auburn, only 2 for Auburn. Blocks were tied 3-3. So there's some defensive stats for you to look at right there. The rebounds that matter are the offensive rebounds by the other team, Daniel says. Well, I would disagree a little bit. They all matter. But certainly when you look at some of those offensive rebound situations, creating second chance opportunities, more often than not, the more you get, the higher you're going to score an extra bucket or 2. And that can be very, very frustrating. Anyone else see Pettiford utilize the rarely seen cross-court pass to our coach? Let us talk about that for a second. I am glad you brought that up. We've had not many things to poke fun at Todd Pettiford about, and thankfully for that, but also let's have some fun with that. Who was he passing to? I have to think that they called a play and someone was supposed to be rotating up there, and he did well, I'm just going to trust that person's going to be there and just throw it out there and didn't even look. Or maybe he's just flat out got confused. But for those of you that missed it, he is literally standing at the top of the key and passes it off to the side, and the only one there standing out of bounds is Coach Pearl. And we wrote the joke, if we want to see BP throw one up more than anyone else, but not right now, Todd. So that's that was a rough moment for him, but thankfully those don't happen very often for him because he's a great player and a great freshman phenom. Fast break points won by Alabama State tonight. Points in the paint, very close. Auburn wins that 30-28. I'm actually a little shocked with how close that is, and with them having the turnovers, that Auburn won by 20 here today. That's wild. No technical fouls, no flagrant fouls, and Auburn's largest lead on the day was 24 points. Alabama State had a lead of 3 points to start off the game, but that is about it. All right, let's see what you guys are saying. Daniel says that he thinks that was a busted play by Kelly. Kelly was supposed to be there. And yeah, it may have been a busted play. So the responsibility falls on Kelly to be there, but also, to make it happen. But, Tahad can't just throw that out there. Again, we don't really need to rail on him too much. Everybody has a bad moment, and certainly he's a freshman that's due one every once in a while, as much of a phenom as he's been. Adam says this on Facebook. Something seems a little bit off for us since clinching the SEC in the regular season. Really hoping we find that edge back we had earlier this year. I don't necessarily 100% disagree with this, but I don't 100% agree with this statement and this narrative. Certainly when you compare the entirety of the season to the last stretch, you can say something's off, but it could be as simple as this, that people are just catching up to Auburn. Auburn could have been just that much ahead of everybody else. That's long, and there's enough tape, there's enough that to play better against them. It could be a combination of both of those things. It could be they're a little bit off into what some people are saying, but it also could be that people are just catching up to Auburn, which is what you would hope a good league would do, a good conference would do, but a good league overall would do as well. Okay, so there are your team stats. There are your individual stats. There are some of the storylines. If I missed anything that we need to talk more about in this particular post-game stream about this game, certainly we can, but we're going to start moving forward just a little bit now to look to the future and give you some reminders. First of all, I want to thank everybody once again who joined our bracket contest. If you missed it and you heard me talk about it before, that's on you. We gave you thousands of warnings, but that is underway. I don't know who's in the lead right now. I know I am not doing well, but thank you all who joined that, and I hope you all have good luck in it and will win the prize at the end of our bracket contest. What do we got coming up next here? Well, because we won, we've got the next matchup with Creighton. I know a lot of you are worried about this one. I would remove the word worried and just say, got to be taking this seriously. Certainly, we've talked about it ad nauseum leading into this tournament, this game, how Auburn was put into a region that is extremely tough. There's a metric that shows it is the toughest out of all the regions, and which is odd since they're the leading the top number one seed. They should have the easiest path. Point being made. You got to get through Creighton. You got to get through Kalkbrenner. You got to get through a 7'1" behemoth. You got to get through a team that look like they can shoot the lights out of the ball. So mistakes will have to be limited. Free throws will have to be made. Turnovers will have to be reduced to be able to win this matchup on Saturday now. Daniel says Saturday will come down to two things: boxing out Kalkbrenner and the guards covering Neal. Certainly there are other players besides Kalkbrenner, but he's the big name. He's the one that you got to watch out for in this particular game. WT wants to give us an update. Says there are 50 people who are tied for first at the moment. You're not going to get a lot of separation early, although if the Clemson game is finished and they still are getting their butts beat bad, everybody's going to be messed up for a while here. Jacob says, noticed Bruce pulled CBM after that play where he tumbled, but the other player needed to calm him down because it was getting a little chippy. And certainly it was, but it gets chippy on both sides of the thing. It was a little bit rough of a tumble on both sides. Again, folks, I would highly recommend, and this is not directed necessarily at you, Jacob. We got a lot of people that are worried about parenting and trying to coach CBM. Just support the kid, let the coaches handle it. They know how to do that the best we can. There's enough attention and stuff by other fans and other commentators and stuff on that right now. Certainly, no issues this game. So I know we're all a little bit gun shy with what happened in the last one. This is from Daniel, says that Neal for Creighton scored 29 points today and had the most rebounds and assists for the team. So whether it's Kalkbrenner, whether it's Neal, whether it's other player that we're not talking about at Creighton, they are a great team, and you should very much expect a knockdown, drag-out fight. I've told you guys this, that if Auburn can get out of this region, I made a pretty bold prediction on the podcast about that. If they get back, Creighton is going to be really tough to get past. Kevin says that Saturday's perimeter defense is the key, and it very may well be the case. So many things that we could talk about at this. All right. So round out the show, is there anything that we haven't talked about that we need to, whether it is something from this game, a shout out, a storyline, something about the Creighton game coming up? I will say this, as much as I wanted us to have a later game and maybe a game on Friday, it is kind of nice to have this done, have the win, and now you can sit back and enjoy the rest of the day in March Madness, the rest of the night, and you can enjoy Friday now and settle in. We don't think we know our time at this moment. They usually do that later. Or tomorrow they'll probably start announcing the times for the matchups. My guess is since we had an earlier game this time, they'll give us a later game on Saturday. So either way, saddle up, get ready, folks, for a big matchup. This is from Micah. Says like what they said during the broadcast, they just got to harness that energy that CBM has to use it to build the team and energize them, to not bring them down. And I do think that is true. Certainly, when you have a high energy guy, like directing it in the right direction is the best thing. That was the same story with KD. It's the same story with any player that has a high energy, a provocative nature. Harnessing it and getting that done is an important feat. Okay, I think we're gonna call it a stream right there. Thank you guys so much for being here. Auburn wins 83-63 against Alabama State. I said my big stat was Miles Kelly's points. I think I might want to change that now to the fact that we had 3 guys go exactly 5 for 9 from the field. I just don't feel like we ever see that. Just 5 for 9, 3 guys exactly. That was just kind of an odd thing. I know that's really not a big factor in the game, but it stuck out to me. And your big storyline is that Auburn does take down in-state opponent after the scare that they gave, getting down to 1 in this game. I am so excited for the rest of March Madness. You all should be too, whether we're talking about Auburn's future in this, the future of your brackets. Saddle up, folks. It's just beginning. The madness is here, and I couldn't be happier. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hope to catch you on the next post-game show or anywhere else we have content for E2C Network. Until we talk to you again, War Eagle.